And Grandma, she died when I was 12. Had heart failure. She had bad heart for a long time. And then Grandpa married again after she passed away, and then she died.
That's how I live, two spouses.
Yeah. And
I guess somebody's got to help.
it was just a first-time marriage because she'd been married and still before that.
Yeah, an interesting story there. I worked with a guy who, her grandfather's second wife was the second wife to this guy's dad. It's a long way around. But he was, she thought the world of him. Jenny thought the world of Bill Bacon.
Yeah.
He was a great guy. Bill Bacon detested her kids. And
Well,
the
I
reason
can
was
understand that.
Yeah, well, she was married to his dad's second wife. And when his dad died, his story, when his dad died, his kids came in and literally cleaned
Her kids came in.
house. Yeah, her kids came in, cleaned out. He got almost nothing as far as his dad's tools and things like that because her kids rushed in there and cleaned it out. And I suspect that what he told me was the truth after watching what happened after Jenny died.
Yeah.
Because her kids, and they were older then, they were in their 50s and 60s, and they came in and literally tried to clean the place out. But her granddad and his granddad was
When you name call.
yeah, he was a little more adamant that they weren't gonna.
No, those belong to the girls. No, those belong to the girls. And that belongs to Uncle Glenn. Okay.
Yeah,
He wasn't gonna let him do that.
he kind of took charge of what the stuff that was his. You know, he let them come and have the stuff that were hers. But there wasn't anybody to protect Bill's dad's stuff when her kids came in and she was there. And, she was a nice lady, and I guess she was really good for
No, she
him.
took good care of him.
But boy, did she like to complain.
There are a lot of people that do that, yeah.
Well, that's not a change in the world at all.
No, that's not uncommon. We all are prone to complain.
Anyway, and then Daddy's side, you know, they lived down in Colorado. We went down there every summer. And then frequently they would come up and stay with Mom and Dad because they had the bigger house. And I remember Grandpa getting so angry at Iris because she would want him. He was straight-laced, really, you know, really straight-laced.
Old school.
Old school straight-laced. And she wasn't. She was a little wild. And she would go out.
She was a little snot.
Yes, she was. And she would go out with her girlfriends out in the backyard and suntan with no lines.
Yeah. I thought they went on the tower to do that.
They did that too. He didn't know, but he wasn't seeing that. But when she went out on the back lawn, he did see that because he was staying out. He stayed with Mom and Dad, and Mom and Dad were working, and Grandma and Grandpa were just there, you know. And he was absolutely scandalized that she would go out there and have no clothes on. But she didn't want tan lines. So she didn't care. I think sometimes she did it just to see how loud he would get.
Right, that's right. She did it intentionally to antagonize him.
Antagonize her. Well, she was older when Mom and Dad got married.
Mhm.
And she had been the cock of the walk. Because she was the old one. She told everybody what to do and how to do it. And,
Glad you defined it, because a lot of people don't know what cock of the walk is.
and when we were living out, when we moved out to Todd Park, she was the one that took care of us while Mom worked. When Mom moved there, from Salt Lake, which is where I was born. David was born in St. Louis. But,
Like St. Louis,
Missouri.
down south, okay.
and so she was considered she was the boss. And when Mom and Dad got married, she was no longer the boss. And he tried to teach her, to love her, but she wasn't gonna have it, because she was 13, maybe 14, and just snotty. But after she got grown up a ways, and after she got married to her first husband, it was different. They got, I guess she had Sandy, which is her oldest daughter, and then 9 months later, she had Randy.
No waiting there.
Was about 10 months later, because she had been told that when you're nursing, you can't get pregnant. And that is not true. And she found out. Anyway, Grandma and Grandpa, Grandma, she would just tell him to straighten up. And just leave the girl alone. Dave, just leave the girl alone. And his name was David. But he couldn't go to bed until she went in and turned down the covers. He would sit up there and say, "Laney, it's time for bed." Her name, she was a Viola, and he called her Laney. And time for bed. Yes, dear. Laney, it's time for bed. 10 minutes later, 15 minutes later, and she was talking to the kids and just then, and finally, he would get up and take her by the hand and say, "Laney, it's time for bed." And she'd go in, turn down the covers, he'd get in bed, she'd come back out and talk.
At least I know it's genetic now. When I was little and we'd send us all out to the car,
Yeah.
because we're leaving soon, and we sit in the car for probably 10 minutes, but at my age it was akin to 5 hours.
Well, it was a long time.
Come wandering back in and you guys were still talking, so at least we know it's
Your mom
genetic.
won't take credit for that. She blames her.
It's fun, yeah. Because usually that was when we were at your grandparents', Grandpa Terry.
No, this was at your
Well, yeah,
your parents' house.
possibly.
Because I'm pretty sure my grandpa Terry passed away when I was not very old.
When did he die?
75.
Yeah, I was in vitro at that time at best. And no, I wasn't even that because I was born in December, so I didn't exist.
Michael was the baby. Then Lynn was born. And
So you,
Jim and Lynn.
Your mom didn't die until what, 86?
Yeah,
I remember that.
yeah, it was.
So you didn't grow up, Mom, in a traditional household then?
Define traditional.
Traditional is, here's my mom, here's my dad. They got together and made me.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about that, because I don't know if a lot of people will know that. Well, grandchildren may not know that. A lot of your kids know that. I know that, but this...
Oh, you want to know when we, the courtship and the acquaintance and then the marriage and then...
Well, how did you get...
Write your story.
You don't have to write it now. You can tell it now.
I wasn't one. Let's start there.
When I was in 10th grade, my English teacher said, we're going to write, everybody needs to write their own biography up until now. I went, okay. First sentence in my biography was, first of all, I wasn't wanted. Who would want a baby on December 24th? You know, you'd rather with 2 other children and Christmas presents hidden all over Grandpa's house, because we were living with Grandpa. That was after they had separated.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't the father there, and and then she went and she called the doctor and she said, "Stop this baby." And he said, "Honey, I can't do it. Get yourself to the hospital." I wasn't due until the middle of January.
Mhm.
But she spent those months from the time that my biological father left her until I was born, working, cleaning offices.
Mhm.
So it was hard work. She said that she would, when she first went to work there, she would go clean the restrooms because she would get sick and vomit and because of the morning sickness. And anyway, so she had the baby, and in those days she had to stay there for at least a week in the hospital after you had the baby, and in bed. They wouldn't let you get out of bed. I don't know what they were thinking, but they. So he cut the top out of his Christmas tree, and they decorated it. He and Grandma decorated it and brought it to Mother to put in her room so that she would have a Christmas. Brought their presents up, but they said that all that couple of days, that day, Christmas Day, and the day before, when I was born, they were finding Christmas presents for David and Iris, and the new baby, where she had hidden them around Grandma and Grandpa's house. They didn't know where they were, but they were finding them. And then she went to work out at Todd. They put me in the nursery, and David, well, we all went in the nursery during the summer, in their daycare that they had out there. And then she said she never felt so helpless as she was driving up to get us in the carpool to get us. And we saw her coming, and Iris took off, and Dave took off running while I was little. You know, I was maybe 3.
Mm-hmm.
And went running down there and tripped and fell and whacked my head open. And she couldn't get to me because she was in the car down the way. She saw me fall, but she said it was terrible. And I can imagine, because when they called me when Stuart broke his arm, they called me from the school. And when they went up there, they had his arm in a sling, so I couldn't see it. When I got him up to the hospital, they said, "You sure it's broken?" I says, "That's what they said." And so they took him back, and they took it out of the sling, and it was broke both bones. And I had to leave. My stomach turned upside down. But
So what was it like growing up? How old were you when?
when they got
Well, the guy I know as Grandpa.
when Grandma, yeah, when they got married,
Yeah.
I was about 5.
So do you remember anything of what it was like? Because back in this era, single parents were not the norm and not accepted. Or do you remember any of that?
Well, no, I didn't. That it was just I didn't know any difference
Mhm.
because she was alone from the time I was about 3 months in vitro,
Mm-hmm.
and then until she met Daddy. I don't remember that much about that. I don't remember the wedding. We got pictures of when they got married, but I don't remember that. And but I remember when we moved from Todd Park. Well, from Todd Park, they had military housing,
Okay.
and that actually they were non-military housing, but they were cinder block, not very beautiful.
Prefab housing.
What an understatement.
Well, Dad lived there too, but I didn't know him. And when we moved into Chihuahua, we lived kitty corner across the street from Aunt Norda, right on the corner, White House. And I was really, I accepted him as his father right away because I didn't know any better.
Mm-hmm. Did Grandma live with my great grandparents during that time frame, or did she live on her own?
No, she left at Grandpa's house.
Okay.
Then he made it. He had a big full basement, and he turned it into an apartment for her.
Okay.
And after she moved to Tooele, or Top Park, which is south of Tooele, they rented it out because they didn't need it.
Mm-hmm.
Then they needed the money, but now I don't know. I thought I was younger than but I was about 12 and she's 7 years older than I am. So that she was old enough to be a snot and and made life miserable for Dad until she finally decided that he was okay. But that took about 5 or 6 years.
Having met Aunt Iris, I believe it 100%.
But she was not?
Yes.
Yeah, she was. She when we went to the temple to be sealed,
Mm-hmm.
no, when Mom and Dad went through the temple, we went there. What are you doing? And then they sealed us. They just had proxy come in and sealed us. Iris couldn't come in, and we were little. Didn't really matter. But we were adopted when I was 12.
Okay.
And Iris she was married, and so they figured that she didn't care, So they didn't adopt her, and she read both of them right after they were. She was. I'm part of this family too. I need to be sealed, and so they did. And they also adopted her because she hadn't been adopted because she was married and an adult, and so that she wanted it. So.
On top of this, my grandpa, the grandpa that I know that I call grandpa, this was not his first marriage either.
No. He hadn't been married. He wasn't married very long. But she was playing around. Had a boyfriend. And he found out about it, and he was so mad that he'd hit her, and she'd fall back on the bed and stand back up, and he'd hit her again. And it was at Grandma's, and so Grandma came in and said, Everett, you've got to stop. And he, that stopped him, and he just took me out in his car and left. And I don't know how long he was gone, but when he got back, she was and filed for divorce, and he didn't contest it. That he didn't have any children, because he couldn't have children. So he married his children, he married his family.
So growing up in that time frame, was there ever any issues for the fact that you had? I mean, on the surface, may look like a traditional family, but anybody got in there could say, "This is not your typical '50s Leave It to Beaver
No,
family."
no. The
There
thing
weren't any of those.
when I was in school, they were talking about our forefathers,
Mm-hmm.
and I said, "I don't have forefathers. I don't have three." And I didn't really have three, but yeah, I did. I had two because there was my biological father, and then there was Daddy, and you know, it just came that there was three, and I only had three, and she looked at me and she said, "Honey," Mom said, "you only had two," and really only one because I never knew. I think I saw him once or twice in all the years I was.
So there was no.
No, at least I don't remember any.
Okay.
Because my friends, except for Judy, Nancy was her mother was single, the youngest,
Mm-hmm.
and she was my very good friend. But so it was just accepted. Sometimes some people only had one parent, some people had two, some people had three. But yeah, it was in a way I had the strangest childhood. He was raised in a traditional family.
Yeah, I understand the traditional is not a good word to use in these situations because, as Dad just said, there are no Leave It to Beaver households
No.
even in the '50s.
But yeah, it was an interesting time. But we moved into Twilla and lived there in that house for a couple of years, and then we moved to Grandma and Grandpa's house now.
Yeah.
What was their house? And we had trailers in the back. We had been a trailer park, and we were in the back, and there was a family there that had two kids, and we would walk to school together. Alfie and Leah Ray Knopnicki.
Okay, so that three times real fast.
Don't ask me how to spell it, but that was their name, was Knopnicki. And they moved. As the people moved out of the trailer park, we didn't rent it again because we didn't want to have to do all the legal things that you have to do to have a trailer park. But we did keep the little house up in back. So it was the washroom and then that little apartment over on the other side of it. And so when all the trailers were out, they remodeled it and made it a little bigger
Mm-hmm.
and rented it out. And then we had it in the house, we had the apartment upstairs, so we had two rentals.
I remember that.
And when Iris was getting her divorce, she was pregnant with Paul. And so she moved upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
And when she had Paul, Daddy was smitten. He just loved that little boy and that baby, because he'd never been around a real newborn.
Yeah.
So, and then she moved from that apartment back out into the washroom back, in the wash house back in the back. And then she got involved with Al and they got married and they took the baby and my dad. It was really sad because it just tore him up that that baby wasn't there anymore. He said he's never going to do that again. He said, I'll never do that again. It's just too hard. I'll give her an apartment, pay for it somewhere else, but I'm not going to have him live again. So, what else?
Well, actually, no.
Yeah.